afternoon, viewers. You are watching us live on Caravan News Network. Today, I'm conversing with an honorable man that backed an invaluable record in information technology, a member of renowned IT organization in Africa. Recently, he won the trust of the people of Upper Saloum Constituency, who voted him massively to amplify their concerns in the National Assembly for the next 5 years. Honorable Alhagie Mbow, MP-elect for Upper Saloum Constituency. You're welcome to this show.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you. Once more, we congratulate you for your re-election.
Thank you very much.
We want you to tell us what motivated you into politics, Mr. Mbow.
Actually, I can say I'm an accidental politician because I've never been a politician before in my life. In fact, I've never, as far as I remember, I've never attended a political rally or to be on any political platform in my life. I'm 49 years old and I've never remembered. So it was just happened that in 2017, after the ousting of the former President Jammeh, some people called me from Upper Saloum that we want you to represent us as a member of the National Assembly. So my first reaction was like, no, that can't be, because I'm not a politician. Because you can call me an IT engineer, you can call me an entrepreneur, because that's what I know. That's what I've been doing for life for the past 29 years in the Gambia and in the United States. So it was never in my life that I was going to be a politician, but again, that was God's wish. So when they called me, when this guy called me, I said no, I can't be, because I'm busy doing my business, and I'm employing people, about almost 23 employees at the time. I said, I don't really have time for politics, so I said no. But then later on, the younger brother of the same person actually also called to actually encourage me. Then I said, you know what, wait, I'm going to Dakar, because I was on a business trip, so I said when I come back, I can give you a feedback on whether I can or I can do. So it seems that some people in Panchang, that's where I came from, had this in mind. So when I came back in Banjul, then I had another 2 or 3 calls also from the same people in Panchang that we want you to. So during this time, I said, well, I can give it a try, but since I was never a politician, then you guys would have to do the campaign, because I don't know if you were to start from in campaign. So luckily, I accepted. Then then I went for NRP, because at the time NRP was the dominant political party in Upper Saloum, and they agreed to go with the NRP, and that's exactly how I become an accidental politician.
Just to take you back, how would you describe the political climate then, before you joined politics? Then you are in high gear in discussion between yourself and your members of your constituents who wanted you to contest for them. How would you relate the political climate before to now?
I think before it was very competitive, and there was a lot of issues actually, because of at that time you only had NRP in my area and the APRC. I think they fought all kind of fights just to ensure they gained the upper seat. Sometimes APRC would win, and sometimes NRP would have the upper hand. And there was this cat and mouse game that was playing between them. And for me, being a new person, I was able to explain to the people, it should not be about fight, it should not be about, humiliating people, it should not be about insults. So my thing was like, let's listen to the people, because it's important that you have an opposition in a country. It's very important to have that, because you can always look at the other side of the story. So my mind was like, we need to talk, and then we need to put everything on the table. Let's see what our programs are. Let's see the plans that we actually have for this country, and the plans we actually have also for our constituency, that is Upper Saloum. And along the lines, in fact, some people are saying that, oh, the way you talk, it should not be this way, you have to be very aggressive. I said, no, I don't have to lie to win anything. I don't have to lie to win anybody's heart. I have to tell them really what the realities are, and if they accept or if they believe in what I am saying, then they will come to me. And in fact, and that was the reason why I keep saying, when people are going to the eyes of the people, I go to the hearts of the people. And that's what makes a difference for me in 2017, and that also makes the same difference for me in 2022. I was able to win the hearts of the people and not their eyes.
Okay, we will come to that shortly. In 2017, you were elected as a member of Parliament for Upper Saloum Constituency. And again in 2022, you are re-elected under the same ticket, that is National Reconciliation Party.
That's correct.
Could you tell us, what are some of the factors that led to your re-election?
I think there are several factors. Because one, people, they believe in me in the first place. Because what I've been telling them for the past 5 years, that's exactly what they have seen in me. Nothing actually has changed. because I'm a person who will tell you exactly what is in me. So, and also to tell them what the real job of an MP is. There is a lot of misconstruction about really the work of the MP. Sometimes it's misconstrued. But in actual fact, your major work is to represent your people in the parliament in terms of lawmaking and in terms of holding government to account and stuff like that. And they understood that from me on the onset. And I think every Gambian or everyone that actually watches TV or that follows the National Assembly, that I've done that, with a whole heart. That actually, I perform very well in the parliament. They've seen that. But on the other hand, also, you are one of the, as an MP in a constituency, you are also their chief lobbyist in terms of getting to assistance from the various ministries, just to ensure that what the people are crying for, in terms of development, in terms of water, in terms of electricity, in terms of schools, in terms of health, etc., you are able to go out there and to get to the right ministry to ensure that they understand really where your people are and what they need. And I think I've also done that very well, and that's the reason why people are very confident in me. And even though I have not achieved 100% what I wanted, but at least they've seen that at least I'm on the right track, and I'm also ensured that they have a better understanding really about what I do, and I'm really very close to the people as well in terms of communication, in terms of going there, etc. We are very close. So it's a matter of continuing what I was doing before, and then they were confident that when I'm given the second term, I'll be able to complete what I started.
What would you say to the critics that says the National Reconciliation Party has completely loose grip in terms of support base in Gambia? The only area that supported is Upper Saloum constituency. So meaning that gradually NRP is, getting to the grave.
Actually, I've been told the same thing in 2017, and they told that NRP is a dying party. But if you look at the winning percentage right now as we speak in these elections, NRP actually had the best results. We contested in 5 constituencies and we won 4, and that's about 80%. Now look at the other parties where they contested and how much percentage they won. So if you're looking for a party that is very consistent in the political landscape of this country, it's actually NRP. We do not make a lot of noise. We believe in actions, and then we are very tactical in what we do. We could have feeling for many candidates. We choose not to. We want to be very tactical in what we do, and that's the reason why we filed a candidate in Sabah Sanjal. We put in a candidate for Lower Saloum, Upper Saloum, Nyanija, and we put a candidate also in Nyamene Dankonko. And these are our strongholds in the CRR. That's a fact. And that's the reason why it's going to be very difficult for somebody to upload NRP in those areas, because that's exactly the grassroots of NRP. That is the foundation of NRP. These are the people that actually form NRP. So that's the reason why sometimes it is funny when people say NRP is dead, NRP is consumed. Even though some people, that's what they want. We have seen that in these elections, where some people actually try to undermine the NRP, even though they claim to be part of the coalition, but that doesn't deter us from actually winning what we want to win. And at the same time, you realize that the NRP is one of the most vibrant parties here. But we are very tactical in what we do. We don't just fill up candidates for the sake of filling candidates. We don't do that. We fill up candidates knowing fully that we can win. If you remember in 2017 also, we were very tactical in what we are doing, and then we had a very good winning percentage. In 2022 also, we did the same thing too. And we're going to continue to do that until when we say that we are actually able to expand, tactically, and NRP is going to do that. So anybody that tells you NRP is a dying party or NRP is dead, I think they should need to think twice.
We'll take you a little bit behind, because this is your first time, second time of being elected as the member of parliament for your constituency. We want you to highlight to us one of the significant projects that you implemented in your last 5 years in office in Upper Saloum.
In Upper Saloum. You see, when you look at the work of an MP, the MP is not an implementing partner. That is the responsibility of the executive. But it's the MP that actually looks at the budget of the country and then see that your district is actually part of what you are looking for. For example, if you look at the budget for the country, you realize that a big chunk actually has gone for the construction of roads. And this is one of the major areas that actually have a problem with in Upper Saloum. That is the road from Kirjibi, going through the Bantantos, going through Chamin, Nyanija, Batis, and all the way to Nyanga Bantan. That actually has been budgeted for, and it was me that actually presented the budget, the report from the parliament, and I saw that Upper Saloum is actually part of it. And this road network, since God created Earth, it has not been built. So, and I made sure that the people of Upper Saloum have seen themselves in this budget, and that's one of the things that I've done. Now, if you look at the cost of this particular road, it's getting close to $1 billion. And that's actually starts from Upper Saloum and runs all the way to close to 30-something villages in Upper Saloum, all the way connects to Nyanija, connects to Nyani. And this was one of the biggest priorities, and this is one of the biggest projects that actually we have achieved during my term. And I made sure that in the budget, it actually goes through the budget, and I made sure that also it passes the budget because I presented it with the recommendation from Parliament. And in fact, the road construction is ongoing right now, and we are very certain that by the end of this year, the construction of the road will be complete. And this is one of the major projects that the people of Upper Saloum actually have seen in me, and I fought tooth and nail to ensure that it's in the budget, and that's exactly what they expect from an MP.
Critics have said this, that your fellow contestants are in fact the most qualified and competent. As a result of your affiliation to the ruling party, you are able to gain, victory over them. What is your take on this?
Well, sometimes it's kind of funny because if you're going to compete with somebody, it's important that you understand the person and know the person, his strengths and his weaknesses. They were just talking, and what they were saying was speculation, mere speculation. In fact, one of them actually has gone to the extent of saying that he's more educated than me. But I can say that I finished my master's degree in computer information system from Georgia State, from Kennesaw State University in the United States, and that in 2004. And at that time, this particular person was in primary school, or not even in school at that time. I went ahead and came back to the Gambia on my own terms to help my country. In fact, I lectured part-time at the University of the Gambia before this particular person saying he's more educated than me. In fact, I can also say that I stopped, but I went to the extent of doing my doctoral program in organizational leadership, where I completed my first year. So when this person said he's more educated than me, I tend to doubt exactly, does he really know who Alhagie Mbow is? I think he really doesn't know. And again, that has actually shown in these elections. Because if you're going to compete with somebody, try to know who the person is. But they didn't know who I was. And I don't want to stand and start boasting I am educated. No, it's not about that. But with 29 years of experience in the Gambia, in the banking sector, in the ICT sector, in the telecom sector, in the United States of America, with a master's degree, also with various portfolios across the country here and inside the Gambia and outside the Gambia. So I'm not so sure if somebody can say that based on the people that I'm competing with, they're more competent than I am.
Okay, you defended that clearly.
Yes.
But one could say, in terms of political experience, the person could have an edge over you as you were a political novice in 2017. And perhaps the person was in the politics before that time.
Actually, none of the other three contestants were in the political scene. So if you're looking for a political animal in Upper Saloum right now, I am the one, to be honest with you right now. Because none of them, this is the first time get entered into politics. And it's the same people that are entering now that are saying they are more experienced or they are more in a better position to. So I think it was just a way of trying to, change the mind of the people. But the people of Upper Saloum knew me very well. They knew exactly where the votes are going to. They know exactly who I am for the past 5 years. Even though I was novice in 2017, but I think right now, as far as the politics of Gambia is concerned, I think I'm really very mature. And not only that, but by the Parliament of the Gambia sending me also to the Pan-African Parliament to represent the Gambia in South Africa, it actually has exposed me also to bigger things as far as the political landscape of this country is concerned, and as far as the political landscape of Africa is also concerned. Because I represent Gambia in the Pan-African Parliament, where every country sends 5 parliamentarians, and I'm one of those that are sent to the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa, and that actually has exposed me more in the political situation of the Gambia and also the Africa at large.
We take you back to 2017, when your candidature was announced. What were some of the major constraints highlighted by the people of Upper Saloum that prompted you to at least embrace their request of you, contesting on the NRP ticket?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think there are particular areas they actually highlighted. They wanted somebody who can connect with the people, meaning whenever they need you or whenever they need to talk to you, they will have access to do that. That's one of the areas they wanted. Another area also is about the health system of the area. Because when you look at Upper Saloum itself, you are talking about 84 villages. That there is no health center. Then you are talking about a population of almost more than 20,000 people. What we had is a health post. They also look at Upper Saloum also in terms of education. That's where you have people walking 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers to go to school. And that was very difficult. You look at also Upper Saloum, you look at a place with 84 villages where 75% of the people of Upper Saloum don't have access to clean drinking water. These are the areas or the issues that we're actually highlighting. And they thought maybe perhaps I may be a better person to be able to stand there to represent them in the parliament, and also to ensure that I'm their chief lobbyist, because they know that I'm a business entrepreneur. They know I'm a businessman. They know I put where I put my mouth. I put my money. So they know that. They understand that from me, and they also understand that I'm somebody who is very sociable, and they also understood that I'm somebody who can actually make things happen. And that's the reason why they thought I was the right person. And I think what happened in the past 5 years, they've not made a mistake in what they were thinking.
Again, you are presented before the electorates, and then eventually you won over your colleagues. Could you say what are some of the characteristics that make you stand out unique over your fellow contestants?
Well, I think one of the characteristics is being real and being realistic about what I can do and what I cannot do. It's about being very realistic about what the job of an MP is, and being realistic about really what the future actually holds. And I think that's exactly what I was trying to sell to the people, for them to allow me to continue. Because if you look at the issues actually I just highlighted previously, these are all the issues that actually have worked with them for the past 5 years, and they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. When you look at the education sector, we've made a lot of significant strides actually. You look at the health sector, we made the same thing. You look at the issues dealing with water, we have done the same thing too. And above all, the way I compose myself in public, the way I behave in society, and above all, I think they've seen that I'm a very disciplined somebody, and the way I talk in parliament, or even outside the parliament, they've seen that what they were looking for in a person, in terms of being very disciplined, in terms of being somebody who can represent them all over. I think they've seen that, and I think that was the edge I have over my contestants. And besides, the most important thing is, the money that was paid to me as a member of parliament for the past 5 years, not a single penny actually I have used. Everything I have taken back and give back to the people of Upper Saloum. Just to give an example, in 2022, from January until the end of the elections, I managed to spend more than $2 million in Upper Saloum to assist people, the women and children of Upper Saloum, in terms of water, in terms of education, in terms of other social amenities that they really need, but the government is yet to get to them. From my own money, I was able to spend $2 million to assist them. Now, if you look at my salary that I'm going to earn in this year, in 2022, it's less than 50% of that. So, and people of Upper Saloum understand that I'm not there in the parliament to look for a job. I was not a job seeker, and they understand that. And they know that the people that are going against me, they are job seekers, and they understand that. I'm there.
And that has been your your slogan.
Of course, of course, and they understood that. I'm not looking for a job. Hey, let me tell you something. Right now, I'm employing 20 people directly. Right now, I pay them every month at my institution. Then, indirectly, I'm employing more than 150 Gambians also indirectly that I pay every month. So altogether, directly or indirectly, I'm employing more than 175 Gambians right now as we speak. So I'm not a job seeker. Actually, I'm actually helping our country to develop by employing people, by giving people jobs that they can earn a living and stuff like that. And the people of Upper Saloum actually understood that. If I can take my own money, more than $2 million to spend in people of Upper Saloum, in terms of water, in terms of other amenities that the people actually need, in terms of paying people to go to school, in terms of helping people, all aspects of their social life, they know that this is the person that we are looking for, and they know that this is not the person. This is the person who is not looking for a job. So they know that because of what I'm going to be paid is way less than what I've spent for them.
All these interventions that you have highlighted,
yes,
one could still say Upper Saloum remain disadvantaged, irrespective of this intervention.
Well, you can say that to a certain extent. You could have been 100% perfect in 2017, but right now I would say we have made a significant stride. And I can give an example about this road construction. This road that I'm talking about from Kirjibi, going all the way to the Bantantos, to the Jaring, to the Bati, all the way to Nyani and Nyani. I can tell you, during the rainy season, people have difficulty to get out when it rains, to get out of those areas to come to Kaur or to come to the main highway. And this is one of the most significant development that we actually have. Another thing also is, a newly built hospital is completed, a clinic in Kirolde. Never before. The only thing that remains right now is electricity and water, and water is complete. It's only electricity. This is a clinic that would serve, a total of maybe 30-something villages that they never had before. Then the government actually has just signed a contract. They've ordered a contract for another clinic to be built in Jao Sawal, in Jao Sikunda, to build that The contract has signed. The person that won the contract actually has been given advance payment to start the work. So these are the things that the people wanted to see. And they know that we are actually moving. The movement is actually slow, but I think we are moving in the right direction. So in terms of the health sector, you're going to see that we've made significant strides. And besides, I told you earlier that people were walking 3 to 5 kilometers to go to school. Right now, 3 new schools were built by the government of the Gambia, in Tamba, in Porle, and also in another area, in Jareng. And that's also going to go all the way to assist us to ensure that people don't have to walk 3 kilometers.
Okay, we'll come to the issue of the school. You claim that schools have been established.
Yes.
In Upper Saloum, which is also last out at by critics, saying that this is not a reality at all. Because I went to the Facebook page and someone dropped a comment to say your intervention, your claims of school being established is in fact not reality.
Well, they can say that. It's all politics. But in 2017, when the President of the Republic came to Upper Saloum, to be exact, in Europe, we had a meeting. I made my intervention, and my intervention was about the schools, that school children are walking 3 to 5 kilometers to go to school. I asked that we need to have more schools in Upper Saloum. Then I asked also the President, the time that we also need to have more clinics in Upper Saloum. I also asked about the road network. I also asked about the other social amenities, about water. And during the intervention, during the response from the President, the Minister for Basic and Secondary Education stood and said, we will intervene in Upper Saloum, and that actually has led to 3 schools being built. And mind you, all these interventions about building of the schools is actually contained in the budget.
In the national
Even
budget.
in the national budget. Who is there to defend the national budget in the Parliament? That was me. Because my committee, that's the Finance and Public Accounts Committee, is the one that actually handles the budget. We scrutinize it, we summarize it, and we go present it in plenary. And I was the one that actually did that. Now, mind you, in the budget, even though a school may be built, may have been built by the World Bank or by a philanthropist, that actually is actually contained in the budget itself. But in the budget, it's going to be clearly indicated in the development side of the budget, it's going to be built by the government of Gambia, and that's what they call the government of Gambia, or it's going to be built by a philanthropist. But there's nobody who can build anything in here
without the help of the central government.
Exactly.
In 2020, the President of the Gambia, Adam Barrow, disclosed at Batindar that his government was going to roll out a massive agricultural value addition project, which will help farmers process, package, and sell, products made in the Gambia. Has this been realized?
The project actually is ongoing, but there was a delay in the project being approved because of, at the time, there was something that needs to be approved at the level of the Parliament, which we actually did. But at the level of the ministry, there was a delay in the execution of the project, and that was the Roots project and also another project called the Small Ruminants project. They were all approved at the level of the National Assembly, and the executioner, which is the Minister of Agriculture, that's where the delay actually happened. Okay. But I know a few months ago, I know the ministry were distributing some forms about the Small Ruminants projects to the villages in Upper Saloum in terms of raising these animals, etc., etc. That actually has already been done, and the people actually are filling those forms and submitted back to the person that is responsible for that. I even remember, I think this is the guy that's responsible for the livestock in Upper Saloum, that they have already done that. So, but I know there was a delay in the project itself. Okay. That I do know that.
Good afternoon, viewers. You are watching us live on Caravan News Network. I am currently conversing with the NAM-elect for Upper Saloum Constituency, Mr. Alhagie Mbow. Alhagie, the President also promised your people that the government was going to purchase about 50 tractors to boost agricultural productivity. Has this been achieved too?
Yes, that was done. That has been achieved, and the tractors actually are working. And instead of giving it to a particular village, what they're doing is now is they have, it's kind of like a, when you run a government, for me personally, I believe that you must run it like a business. You must invest to be able to get returns on those investments. Now they have these tractors. Now instead of paying 2,500 or 3,000 per hectare, and now those tractors actually are given to a group that actually does the work for the farmers, and then at a discounted price. So for the past, during the rainy season, those tractors were actually working in Upper Saloum, and then there's a reduction of almost 30 to 40% of the actual cost of actually hiring a tractor in the private sector. So they were paying $2,000 per hectare instead of paying traditionally $2,500 to $3,000. That tractor actually is working in the Upper Saloum, even though we need more. We need more because we are farmers. We need more tractors in Upper Saloum to be able to assist the people. We are not asking for free of charge, but we want the people, the communities to be given those tractors. For example, the community of Bati, the community of Jareng, the ones in Panchang, the one in Nyoro. We want them to be given those tractors so that they can create a business entity where they can actually work, help plow the farms at any particular time, and then they can get some returns from those things there, so that after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, they should be able to go and buy more tractors. So we are not asking for it for free of charge, but help us get those tractors so that we can make some business on it, so that they can be able to buy tractor or any other thing to help them in their farms.
Few years ago, or 2 years ago, you played a significant role in defending the government of the Gambia on the claims of corruption index, which was published by Europeans,
yeah.
And you defended this, to a greater extent, the government of the Gambia. What prompted you to defend Gambia to Gambia government to that extent?
Because the index was a perception, was not a reality. It's just the way they perceive people. When you perceive something, or you perceive an individual to be a particular person, what you have is a perception, it's not a reality. If corruption was measured in real index, statistically, then we can understand. So I'm not saying that there is no corruption in the country. No, far from it. What I'm just saying is it was a perception that people actually have on our country. And as a citizen of the Gambia, I must stand to defend that. What they're saying may be over-exaggerated, but I would have agreed in totality if there were real figures that were measured based on this country of the Gambia. Secondly, the corruption perception index was based on the government only, not the private sector. And if you're going to look at corruption, you must look at it 2 ways. It's the government and the private sector. You have a giver and a taker. So you cannot say the government is corrupt. So what happened to the private sector? Because the contracts that we talk about is not given to what is given to the private sector. So what happened in the private sector? So in totality, I'm just saying the corruption perception index that people are throwing out at us in Africa here, they got to be looked at properly, because it was just a perception, it was not a reality. And besides, they only look at one aspect. That's one side of it, that's the government. They don't look at the other aspect. That is the private sector. And corruption is a giver and a taker. Somebody gives and somebody takes. So we must look at both to have a better understanding about the corruption that we are talking about in Africa, the corruption we are talking about in the Gambia, or the corruption we are talking about in West Africa.
The citizens went outrageous to say the members of the parliament, especially those that were elected in 2017, have a deaf ear over the corruption allegations that pop up in the government of Adama Barrow. The parliament are not looking at it, they are not saying anything. What is your reaction to this?
Well, they must understand two things. They must understand the work of the parliamentarians. If there's an allegation on somebody, you don't come to parliament. They go to the police. If I suspect you're doing something as a good citizen, I should report that to the police for investigation. You don't wait for the parliamentarian, because of what we are doing. We are lawmaking. Even though one of our jobs is to hold the government to account, which we are actually doing. But if you as a citizen actually have seen something that's very abnormal in a government institution or in the private sector, I think it behoves on you to ensure that this is reported to the police for investigation. That should be responsible of every Gambian. You see, the parliament, we are not a police. The parliament is not a national army. And the parliament is not an intelligence agency. It's not. So, what we can do is, there's an issue, they report to us. And that's the reason why we have a very good relationship with the Accountant General's office. And also a relationship with, I meant to say the Auditor General. The Auditor General is one of our best partners we have. And the Auditor General is the one that would actually go in there and then investigate or look at whether the accounts of government are actually correct. They also go further to check whether the monies that were appropriated, each of the ministries actually are put in good use. That's their responsibility, and they come back and report to us. But mind you, when we started in Parliament in 2017, we were looking at accounts of 2012, 5 years behind. We look at 2012, 2013, 2014, and until now, on our last Parliament, we came all the way to 2018. So it means we still have 2 years backlog that we actually have as far as Parliament is concerned. So you're going to see that all the issues that were raised by the Auditor General in the Barrow government, we've just started to look at those issues now because there was a backlog of the previous government of Yaya Jammeh. But nonetheless, any citizen, or you have a member of parliament that you can talk to, or anybody else that you think, when I report this issue, we're going to do that. I give an example. When you look at the audited accounts of government in 2012, 2013, and 2014, we have seen significant abuses of the impress that was given by the government to civil servants. What did we do? We call in the Accountant General. We ask him, why do we have this much of impress that were not retired? Because when the government gives an impress, you go do whatever activity you do. Once you finish with the activity, you should come back and say, okay, you give me 10,000, you give me 100,000, I've spent so and so, this is the balance of the money, and you retire the receipts and everything like that. But what we have seen that the impress outstanding at the time, if I remember correctly, was about over $30 million. That was not retired properly. And we tasked the Accountant General to ensure he goes back to ensure that every individual that was given impress has retired, or if they have not retired, they should go back and they get the money. And the Accountant General started to do that. And the last time we spoke to him in our committee, I think they were able to recover close to $6 million. And we were also told that some of the people that did not retire, those impress, actually have gone to retire them. And this is exactly what the work of the parliament actually is.
In that effort, significant amount is still left unretired, unrecouped.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't you think the parliament's delay in looking at the previous account, the previous year's account, could also encourage corruption at certain degrees within the government sectors?
Well, it's possible. It's very possible, because you cannot do accounts of last year without finishing the accounts of the previous year. That's what happens, because of the opening balances or the closing balance of the previous year forms the basis for the opening balance of this current of the current year that you actually auditing. That's exactly what happened, and that's the reason why not only in central government, but if you go to other government institutions, also you'll see the same thing. You go to NAWEC, Gambia College, the University of Gambia, Gamtel, Gamsel, you name them. That's exactly some of these things that I actually have. Because of the accounts of the previous year, 2 years or 3 years is not ready. So you're going to say the auditors cannot actually finalize the current year because of they form significant basis about this current year they're going to audit. Because again, when you audit, you take the closing balances and bring them over, and also there are certain things that you recommended for them to do in the previous year that you need to also ensure that they do this year. And all those things, they actually causes a delay. It's very possible that some people can play those smart games. It's very possible, but I think I can tell you this, at the end of the day, that will catch up with them. Because of we are ready to ensure that any penny that is spoiled by any civil servant is actually repaid. In fact, the Auditor General has been given full mandate to be able to do that, to be able to charge anybody that actually has caused wastage to government funds. He has been given the mandate in the Constitution and also in the National Audit Act.
We'll come to that. Gambia has a very beautiful art developed. You developed over the years very beautiful bills, but the implementation becomes a problem. Don't you think the lack of implementation from the other organs of government also undermines your performance as the members of the parliament?
Well, it's very possible, and that's the reason why when we are making laws, we try to make laws that are implementable. And sometimes, whether we do it on time, or sometimes whether we have the right people in the right positions, that could also play a role to ensure that some of these laws are implemented properly. But I think going forward, the parliament has a responsibility just to ensure that some of the policies from the institutions are policies that will actually go a long way to actually assist the government to ensure that some of these laws actually are implemented to the latter. Sometimes we may have issues dealing with funding, but I think we must prioritize in what we do to ensure that institutions that could play a great role to ensure that the government, the monies of the government, or the role the government actually needs to play, I think we need to ensure that we fund them properly to ensure they do their work properly. Like the National Audit Office itself, the Financial Intelligence Unit itself, and the police itself in terms of the anti-crime, in terms of the fraud squad of the police department, in terms of the Central Bank of the Gambia, ensuring that they put a strong monitoring team in the commercial banks of this country. And I think we need to ensure that we give them what they're looking for to ensure that they do their work properly, to ensure that some of these laws actually are implemented properly.
You were part of 2017, the last legislature. and here again you are lucky to be part of the 6th legislature. What will you highlight to be one of the greatest achievements that you have, registered for yourself as a team?
Well, I think personally alone, at the level of the parliament, I could not do anything without my colleagues. And I think if you look at what we have done in terms of holding the government to account, through questions and answers by the minister holding to account. In fact, the number of questions we put forward to various ministries in our first year in parliament actually has surpassed the previous parliament for 5 years. And we are able to do that in our first or second sitting. We're able to surpass that. And all that is to bring the ministers to the chambers for them to answer questions based on the activities or based on the things that we actually ask them to do. During time also, we were able to ensure that we change our standing orders, because our standing orders were too old. And sometimes the way we do things were not really very appropriate, and they were not really very effective. And we work together as a team to ensure that we change the laws that govern us. You see, the parliament depends on the constitution and the standing orders that will be used as our Bible or the Quran to really dictate what we do in the parliament. And we realized that the standing orders were more than 20 years old and things actually have changed. And we were able to go there, have our committee on standing orders with the assistance of the Westminster Foundation in the United Kingdom. They help us to actually change our standing orders to reflect the realities of the Gambia, and also to reflect the realities of what actually happens or what partakes in other parliaments across the world. And I think that actually it was a plus, and because that actually is guiding us in terms of how we hold the government to account. It also guides us on how we look at our budget. It also guides on how we make the laws, or how we handle the various acts of parliament. That actually has helped us. But above all, I think the over 50 legislation we actually have passed in parliament, where the majority of us actually has agreed to do, and I think it's really very significant as far as the level of parliament is concerned. And lastly, to making the parliament independent. I think that was one of the most significant in the works of the parliamentarians of the last 5th legislature. The last parliament, really, you can say it was not really an independent parliament. But now we are independent, we act on our own, we make our own budget. Nobody approves our own budget, we make the approval on our own, and we've made a significant stride to ensure that we have the right support. There's no way now you're going to say that, oh, parliament, we need money, we don't have money. No, there's nothing like that now. And this new parliament is really very lucky to ensure that we are independent, and to ensure that there's nobody, absolutely nobody, that will dictate in what we do.
If you look at the composition of the parliament, political composition, you realize that it is made up of different political parties. Those that are outside would conclude to say that perhaps there is a sour relationship between the members of the parliament, as they are there to pursue the interests of their various political parties. How does this reflect on the work of the members of the parliament?
It's very interesting, because what you see in the chambers on TV or what you hear on the radio is very different from what we meet, all of us here. It's very different. So at the level of the plenary, when we sat there and then talk, what you see is very different from what you see behind the scenes. What you see behind the scenes, you only see brothers and sisters. What you see behind the scenes is citizens of the Gambia, one Gambia, that's what you actually see. And that's the reason why the way this current parliament is, with the various political parties, diverse people, I think is very healthy for our democracy. Because there will be no single party that could actually hold us to ransom on anything. None. So this actually shows that the politics of Gambia is become maturing. And I think this is a plus for all of us. So I think the important thing is for us as parliamentarians to ensure that the political tact we actually have, we leave it behind when we come to parliament, and then see only one thing, that's the Gambia. And I think we've done that for the most part in the last parliament, and I'm really convinced that in this current parliament, this new legislation, which is the 6th legislature, I'm very hopeful that we're going to continue to see the same thing, that because of the fact that we have almost 20 members that actually have been re-elected, as opposed to before when we had very few. So the learning was really too long for some of us that were new in the game, but this time around, at least we have 20 parliamentarians that were there before, and we will be able to nurture the new ones. We'll be able to work together with the new ones to ensure that the objective of the current parliament is actually achieved.
Thank you so very much. We almost come to the end of the of this interview. But I have two important questions, which are, one, the governments become very upset that the last parliament, through what we think will usher a new Gambia, a new constitution, is thrown into the bill. Again, the parliamentarians wanted to loan themselves with a lot of millions of dollars that Gambians went out very frustrated. What are your reactions to this? When we have the draft brought back to the parliament, would you vote it against or you'll vote it in this time around?
No, it all depends on what it contains. For me, it's not a matter of we just want a constitution so anything goes. No, far from that. I want a constitution that actually represent the true aspirations of the Gambian people. I want a constitution that would not, discriminate against a particular people in terms of tribe, in terms of religion, or otherwise. I want a constitution that's inclusive. I want a constitution that the Gambian people, majority of us actually has agreed to. That's what I want. But I don't want a constitution just because I want a new constitution so anything goes. No, that was far from that. So any constitution that comes in here, new, which I would support based on the aspirations of the Gambian people. And I'll go for it 100%. And I'm very hopeful this new legislature, that is 6th legislature, we're going to bring back the draft and we work together as a team and then ensure that we remove things that we think are discriminatory and things we believe that it may favor a particular sector of the people of this country than the others. And we also ensure that we all as Gambian, we know our religion, whether you are a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, or whether you are a non-believer, we want to make sure that everybody actually has seen yourself in this new draft that we want to bring. Don't want no question about that. When it comes, I can be the first one that would stand to ensure that this is what we want for this country. And this is what we want to represent the Gambian people. And these are the aspirations of the Gambian people. I'm the first one to stand to defend that to the latter. Now, if you come to the second aspect of your question about
the millions of dollars.
The millions of dollars.
Yes.
You see, sometimes people, I don't know whether you can say, sometimes people are confused about the Gambian, about the way things happen. You know, when the President of the Republic received a donation of vehicles, which he donated to the Parliament and some other Gambian institutions, which people actually never mentioned. People they went basic about it. They said, no, it's wrong. They should buy. The government should buy vehicles for the parliamentarians. The government should do this for the parliamentarians. Now the parliamentarians actually have seen that we cannot just take money like that from the Constituency Refugee Fund to buy all the things there. They said, okay, now, can we give us a loan, we'll pay back. This is not a money that was given free of charge like that. No. They said, you know what, borrow us money, for us to buy a vehicle, or for us to buy, to build our houses, we pay back. There's nothing wrong with that. But personally, maybe the timing, I voted against it because of the timing. And number two, because I was in FPAC, I presented the report of the budget, and we fought tooth and nail with the National Audit Office. We removed their loan scheme. They wanted 30-something million. We cut it and give them only 5 million, and to turn back and take the same money and give back to the parliamentarians. That's why I voted no. But to give loans to the parliament, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because this money that will pay back to them, just like the others in the civil service. If you go to the parastatals, they give loans to their employees. If you go to the civil servants, also, we approve loans to be given to the civil servants. Why can't we get loans also for the parliamentary and they pay back? It's not free money, they pay back. But for me, I said no at the time because of one, the timing was wrong. Because we are coming to the end of our term. I thought maybe if we were to do this, we should have done this 3 or 4 years earlier, which we didn't do. But secondly, also, we took this money from an institution, very important partner, that's the National Audit Office, as a loan. We cut it off, and then we bring back to the budget, and now I turn back and take the same money and give to my own fellow parliamentarian. I said no, I can't. My conscience doesn't give me that, and that's why I voted no for it. And then that's actually what happened. But I don't see anything wrong with putting a loan there for the parliamentarians. They take the money and they pay back so they can solve their problem. Otherwise, we're gonna ask for it free of charge from the Constituency Refugee Fund. And remember, our budget nobody cuts. Remember, our budget nobody approves. We approve on our own. And in fact, the salary of the parliamentarian, we decide what we want to get paid. We decide what the president has to be paid. So we could decide to pay ourselves $300,000, $400,000 who can say anything about it, it's going to be approved by us.
Thank you so very much, Alhagie. Finally, what can your constituents members expect of your performance in this 6th legislature?
I think it's a continuation because they've already seen what I've been doing for the past 5 years, and that's the same that I'm going to continue. They've seen the trust, and they've seen what they expected of me to do in the parliament and also at the level of the constituency. They've seen that, and I'm going to continue to do that. Besides, I'm going to get closer to them like before. Besides, I'm going to continue to ensure that no child is left behind in Upper Saloum in terms of education is concerned. I'm going to also continue to ensure that in the health sector, we are actively improved. Now that we're going to be building a second clinic in Upper Saloum, I'm going to ensure that it's going to be built, but above all, we're going to get the right equipment and the right personality in this hospital to ensure that we help the women and children of Upper Saloum and the adults of Upper Saloum to ensure they have a very good health sector. Besides also, we have 3 new ambulances that were also given in strategic locations in Upper Saloum. One was in Tamba, the other one was in Maka Alisar, and then the minister actually has just informed me that we also have another one for Panchang, which is one of the biggest communities in Upper Saloum, just to assist to transport the sick people to the nearest hospitals. And I think we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to support the government in the provision of water to the needy communities in Upper Saloum and the Gambia at large, and to also ensure that the education sector also is not left behind, and the other infrastructural development, particularly electricity. I'm aware that you know in Upper Saloum there's no electricity. I forgot to tell you, but I managed to solarize 13 villages with electricity. In terms of street lights, I managed to do that on my own money from the salaries actually I received from the parliament. I managed to do 13 villages out of 84. So right now I'm aware that the government actually has signed contract to provide electricity for Upper Saloum, which I think that will be a good plus. And it's a project, about 2 years project, and I'm sure in the next 24 months, I think the people of Upper Saloum will have enough electricity to be able to reduce the rural urban migration, because most of our youths are here to learn a trade because there is no electricity, or there is nothing over there for them to be able to sit to learn something because of lack of electricity and other social amenities that are not available in Upper Saloum.
So thank you so very much, viewers. That brings us to the end of this interview. My guest was Mr. Alhagie Mbow, the MP-elect for Upper Saloum Constituency. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you so much, and appreciate it for coming by, and I thank you for taking your time, for coming all the way to my house to have this interview done. And on behalf of my family and the people of Upper Saloum, I thank your media for taking your time and your energy and your resources to ensure that what we do or what we intend to do for the Gambian people actually is highlighted for everybody to hear. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you.